the death of mass advertising, is micro-targeting the only way forward? So we can start with maybe the rise of micro-targeting, the nuances, and what are the success and the barrier factors, and maybe the decline of mass advertising. And then maybe we can talk about how in the future, is there room for only one, or can we coexist, like mass advertising and micro-targeting together, maybe a hybrid structure or something. So it is wonderful to have seasoned practitioners like you, and would love to hear something on this topic from you guys.
It's the financial services folks who are probably doing more micro-targeting than I am. I'm still living in a very much in a mass advertising world. So
You said, Nestle. Did you have any experience about like how do they, because the brand portfolio and the product lines, there are several, right? So how do
I used to work with the Maggie business at that time.
So
with the Maggie brand. So yes, very much. I mean, and I've continued to work for the last years also with FMCG companies largely, and also with fashion retailers, but both of them. So yes, definitely. I mean, in a single line, I don't think mass advertising is dead. I think there is enough and more room for mass advertising continuing currently. Of course, I think the utopia of advertising forever has been to target the segment of one. And I think today that is very much a reality of being able to micro-target, of being able to go after specific cohorts and build and speak to people. I think more and more consumers expect that today. So very much. But I think it's also a question of which category, which brand, and for who you're talking about, right? Because there is enough propositions that still need to be spoken of to a very large group of people. And just from a pure advertising standpoint, I would still say that great brands are built on the back of top of funnel, not just on middle and bottom funnel. So that would be my sort of starting says to it in some manner.
So, adding to what you said, that it depends on a particular category. So, I believe the two things which is important to how you're going to advertise and where you are going to advertise. First, I think the product category, and it also depends on the product line. Within that, how many brands you are handling, and also who your TG is, as in target group, your segment, right? If it is Gen Z, versus if it is, Generation X who are not too tech savvy, then it makes more sense, to advertise only through YouTube, right? The other day we were talking about the Pantene example. So Pantene has the regular products that we see in the store shelves, right? Then they came up with this bamboo shampoo, right? And they said that, okay, we have some cash cows, the products which are already giving us, right, the revenue, and the ROAS is okay. Why not? Because it is all sustainability and, eco-friendly. Gen Z is available on YouTube. So they went for advertising there. So micro-targeting versus, so same company, same brand, different products, approach are different. So
I'll just add to that. It's not just the product line, it's also the context of where you are in the life cycle. What is the objective you want to achieve? So I'll give you example of IndusInd Bank, for example. So, I mean, over the last 12, 13 years, we have invested heavily in trying to profile customers, understand what is their requirement, when do they, for example, need a loan, and can we come out with a solution or a product at that point in time when the person needs a loan. Right. So we have a decision science unit which does a lot of data analytics. What is the transaction behavior? What are the other data we can pull through bureau or various feeds, and then profile and position the product. But at the same time, I mean, last year we did a little research to see how is our brand recall, and we realized that on the brand recall we were not faring as well as we would have liked to. Right. And that was the time we said, okay, there is need to elevate the brand a little bit. And we invested in sponsoring the ICC World Cup, which happened in India. And it was a, multi-year contract. So we were a global sponsor. We sponsored the T20 World Cup in US. And after that, the kind of brand recall recognition that we have seen has really helped us. On the back of that brand recall, you can then start targeting, start positioning your products. So I think it's a little bit of an unfair topic to say only one has space to exist. I think there's obviously they will coexist even in future, and it'll depend on the line of the product, the context you are in, what is the objective you want to achieve as a business. So my view is it'll coexist.
Well, I'll give a little context. I asked this since we are a young company, unlike in IndusInd Bank, which has been there for a while, had the advantage of its parentage for a long period of time. In India, if you look at in a span of 3 years to build a 11,000 crore business has been fairly challenging, especially in lending industry, in MSME financing. And obviously, we have a full-fledged brand marketing communication team. In around 1.5 years back, we did a big campaign because, typically when you have agencies, then they will come and tell you how to build a brand. And you get lured with that. So we spent almost a 10.5 crore budget. We did a big full page ET ad. We launched a product called GrowX. And my assessment of whether, any form of mass advertising has resulted or not, when your friends start, sending you WhatsApp, aapka ad dekha tha, acha laga, And I saw very muted response. So I said, itna TV pe ad kiya, itna kya, ye hua kyun nahi? And then I called one day, after some point in time, and I asked my head of brand that, do you know a Nancy Tyagi? So he said, who's Nancy Tyagi? We don't know. How many of you know Nancy Tyagi? That's the problem. So Nancy Tyagi is a girl from a city in UP called Barnaval. She has roughly around 1.6 million followers. She was invited to Cannes this year, and Forbes has named as the biggest influencer in India on fashion and advertising.
Makes her own dresses.
She makes her own dresses. So that's where I call Bharat Badal Raha hai, right? And that's what people, because I born and brought up in Banaras from a small town, but sometimes we are missing how the country has changed. If you don't know Nancy Tyagi, you can't run a marketing campaign today. Because, for us, every shopkeeper in a small city and town would be watching more number of reels than what you and me watch. My daughter, when she comes back from US, she's just passed out from Berkeley, joined EY actually, and say, क्या आप रील देखते रहते हैं बुड्ढों की तरह रात दिन? तो मैंने कहा भाई मुझे रील में इंटरेस्ट नहीं है, लोग क्या देख रहे हैं मुझे उसमें इंटरेस्ट है, right? So मुझे कुछ समझ नहीं आता है. But similarly, there is a 11-year-old girl, who has now 500,000 followers because she makes reel on dancing, right? So I don't think so. The mass marketing is dead. But because the constituent have changed so dramatically over the last 4 or 5 years, and to reach to them, mass advertising doesn't make a difference. Why you think that BJP's election machinery is far more superior than any other political party? Because they do micro marketing. So I don't know how many of you know Panna Pramukh. because पॉलिटिक्स में हिंदुस्तान में क्रिकेट और पॉलिटिक्स सबको समझ में आती है, इसलिए आपको नैन्सी त्यागी नहीं पता है, पन्ना प्रमुख पता है. बिकॉज आरएसएस ने ये क्रिएट किया पन्ना प्रमुख बिकॉज एवरी इलेक्टोरल रोल्स हैव ए पीस कॉल्ड पन्ना. And on that particular panna, you have number of voters. And every one Sanghi have to take one ownership of one panna, and his job is to make sure that panna people should come to the voting booth and make the vote, right? So that level of granular micro marketing has, expanded their base big time.
No,
So,
actually in India it is possible. Remember the Cambridge Analytica one that happened, right? So it was possible, like they did it, they had to pay some hefty amount of penalty, and Facebook apologized also for the leakage without, consent. They took so much data. But here our policies and data security is not that well built, I think. It's not robust enough.
No, so I just want to give you a few anecdotes. I like to travel by road. And I've been doing that for almost now 25 years. I used to remember when I, way back in, say, 2005, 2006, when I used to travel from Delhi. My sasural is in Fatehpur, which is between Kanpur and Allahabad. And when I used to travel, girls wearing jeans and t-shirt was, in scarcity, right? Today, you go to any remote location and finding a girl in a rural, village and town wearing suit, sari to is too far away, right? That's one part of it. In tier 2, tier 3 town, arranged marriages, which we sit over here, we still think that Hindustan mein sab log ke maa baap shaadi kara rahe, right? But that is not true. Number of Twitter users in semi-urban areas is higher than what the urban areas is. So that's where the power of the mass marketing is weaning off big time. So if you have to populate big brand, and very impactful, then you have to spend. ROI of big spend on mass marketing versus micro marketing. Micro marketing is far more superior. It required a lot of institutions. So agencies and big media is making a lot of money, and that's why they want to tell you that without that you won't survive. But in reality, actually, that is not happening for any category of services, my belief.
Yeah, so
I will come back to debate that after.
So I think there's a counterpoint out here. I think while really happy to see the corporate mindset of targeting, micro targeting, and reaching out to the newer generation
New
of the
method
customers.
of mass marketing.
Yeah, newer generation of the customers as well. Look at from a customer perspective, right? I as a customer, right, I am receiving about like 8,000 to 10,000 different kind of a content over all my devices, over all my interactions, right? And that is mostly digital. So 80% of that is in digital, right? Billboards and all, I don't even consider as part of what I'm consuming as a content. Today, I'm consuming more of digital content. Now, you talked about Gen Z, and there is a debate. Like, I still consider myself a Gen Z, but yeah, it's a debatable thing that who is Gen Z and yeah, right? So, but typically there is a difference in term of and your question about Nancy Tyagi is an indicator that we are not Gen Z, right? We are probably not even millennials, right? We are past that, right? So there is the generation gap and the expectation of the generation and the attention span is all changing, right? Our attention span probably is much more. We are still something like Hindusin. I would have actually watched the cricket match and consumed that much more readily than a social media campaign of a bank. I would not have related a bank to a social media campaign. I would have much more related it to a TV media or a billboard or something else, right? But a Gen Z, for them, banking is fingertips. They don't, I think retail bank branches are not there for them, doesn't exist. So something, if you are talking about a physical location or a physical branding, will not fly with them. So I think while we have to think from a corporate perspective, there are in fact two Indias, as we already talked about, right? Maybe now there are three Indias, right? And there are three or more generations. So it's becoming all the more complex from the corporate side to look at how do we target. But at the same time, if we have to put our foot in as a customer, that is much more overwhelming for us to think how much we are consuming.